playoff time, and since I am a fan of good formats, we are doing a double elimination style of tournament. So the players you see lose in this round of the playoffs do not exit the tournament yet. They move to the losers bracket. So, first up, we got Soulwind versus Aiko. We got a Dio speed, we have a Dialga lead. Now, Dialga is an unusual lead because it gives Deoxys multiple hazards, but some players have used Specs or Adamant Orb, but usually Specs, to do what you just saw there, which is limit Deoxys to one layer of hazards, while also matching up well against Kyogre lead. So, I think Specs Dialga is a great Pokemon in general, and it is cool to see it as a lead. So, we see Mewtwo go right for an Aura Sphere, just in case the Dialga was Adamant Orb and wanted to stay in and pop up rocks. So, Giratina comes in, and now Soulwind's own Dialga is going to absorb the Draco Meteor. Not well at all. That looks like an offensive Dialga and a very invested Giratina. So, right for the Dragon Pulse, going to bounce off Heatran. So, Aiko's got a lot of defensive edge here. As this might pop rocks up, no, Dialga comes back in on a great double switch. Spec Stealth Rock Dialga is not unheard of, and it's a pretty good set. Again, I have stressed this many times in my DPP Ubers videos, but Dialga really can do whatever it wants. And that, I mean, I'm just trying to think, what else could I, pair Stealth Rock with? Could I use Stealth Rock Bulk Up Dialga? Yes, absolutely. That sounds great. I mean, there's a limit, of course. But, So, yeah, that was a great double switch. And the Dialga can either chase the Kyogre out, or it can just go for Specs Thunder, slam Kyogre hard, get a para, and another para from T-Wave. So that looks like a Calm Mind T-Wave Ogre. And it's not going to do any more damage, and it looks like Soulwind does not want to switch into Thunder with his own Dialga weakened. So Dialga comes in. Now, that original Dragon Pulse actually did... Ooh, that sucks. That's unfortunate. Because that original Dragon Pulse did, 26. That's a pretty hefty chunk to Heatran. Now, it wasn't going to be in 2 KO range of Meteor, but the double miss, yikes. I mean, the Toxic, at least it wasn't Rocks or Lava Plume, but... I mean, yeah, 38, that's pretty hefty. But okay, so Soulwind, I don't know if Aiko was predicting to switch and not wanting to use Rainy Lava Plume, or, just being nice, but I assume with money on the line in a tournament like this, then players are not going to play nice. So, Toxic doesn't want to risk Giratina because Heatran's already weakened, and now in comes Groudon, which is an interesting pivot choice, as there is Ice Beam, and I apologize for my computer being terrible. I don't know why the frame rate is so bad in this one, but yeah, so Aiko really wanted those rocks, and Mewtwo's going to 2 KO. And now is in, I was going to say, range for Giratina's O's Shadow Sneak. Incidentally, those rocks are not just good as a general thing. And also, that Groudon switch actually served multiple purposes. Not just to get up rocks, because LOL rocks are good. But replacing the rain is really important, because it means if Soulwind has a Kingdra or Kabutops, it's much easier to deal with. Rocks also put Dialga in Giratina's Shadow Sneak range. And also make sure that Mewtwo racks up enough residual damage to ensure that Palkia, in this case, or Giratina O with Shadow Sneak. I guess the Giratina O could not be running Shadow Sneak, theoretically. But, yeah, that was a good move. Now, whoa. Let me slow down. As long as Aiko has a plan for big physical attackers, which I think between Giratina Origin for things like Lucario and Groudon, and then Palkia for things like, for DD Rayquaza, it's generally going to be fine. With all the dragon power being thrown around here, it's not like the physical threats are going to have an easy time setting up either. So that was a good sacrifice, good foresight there. So another Spatial from Aiko, and either winning a Scarf Palkia speed tie, or Soulwind's Palkia just not being scarfed. And it looks like the Spatial Run is going to clean up here. And yep, because that last is indeed a Rayquaza. So Aiko takes a 1-0 lead. T-Tar lead. Rayquaza lead. So Rayquaza matches up well against Tar if Sash, because Airlock negates Sandstorm. And if it's a Lum Rayquaza... Actually, no, Rayquaza matches up well against non-C BTAR in general, because as we've established in the last video, which was recent enough to where I remember what I said. Yeah, sorry about the long breaks I took in between. A lot of stuff was going on. Yeah, as we established in the last video, then, so, you know, go check that one out and the one before it if you haven't seen those, because there's a lot of tournament footage. So, as we established in the last one, T-Tar lead does not run rock moves often, and that's what makes Choice Band unique, in that it is a T-Tar lead that actually beats Ho-Oh one-on-one. So you have the, you know, irony of Ho-Oh beating most T-Tar leads, because what are you going to fit on there? You want rocks, you want crunch or payback, you want fire blast, you want superpower or low kick. And it's hard, and you know, it's hard enough to fit all those things in. To say nothing of potentially wanting pursuit depending on your set, which makes it even more complicated. So, Rayquaza Rayquaza is going to come out on top against T-Tar lead, even if it is banded with Stone Edge, if it is Sash, which is the more common variant of Ray. So, yeah, it lets you stay in and beat up things like Kyogre one-on-one. And it's generally, you know, nice to have when your number one revenge killing, the number one thing you're going to be revenge killed by are Ice Beams and Draco Meteors that are going to come in after you beat DOS one-on-one with Draco Meteor and E-Speed. So, of course, sometimes you want Lum for Darkrai, but rarely is it going to be Life Orb. Now, Brick Break unboosted is not going to KO T-Tar, but, oh, it's just going to go right for an Outrage. That's unique. And there is a Rock Slide, but it's not quite doing the job. And so that's unusual, to say the least. DD Ray lead has been used by a couple of players, and it's by no means standard, but it can potentially get games off to a really rollicking start, especially because it's so unexpected. And if you are DD Ray, then yeah, your best move to hit T-Tar might just be Outrage, because you're not going to DD on it, because then you lose your Sash advantage. So, in comes Dialga, presumably Scarf to not eat an Outrage. Nope, it just eats the Outrage, but for less than half because Dialga's bulky. Eats the Outrage and gets up rocks. So, there's a breakthrough of confusion. And a Draco. Ooh, someone's had it rough in this. Okay, well, there you go. Oh, hey, that worked out for Soulwind. He gets an extra turn of leftovers. That might actually be crucial, you know, with rocks and whatnot. Okay, no, because now Aiko switches in and reveals, why is my music not playing? It's not because of ads, I hope, because I have an ad blocker now. Awesome. So just my computer being slow today. So, yes, now Kyogre comes in, and Calm Mind's up. We see that, okay, so this is you don't see a lot of Earth Powers on Dialga. And it's a great option, obviously, because it hits other Dialga super effectively and really sticks it to Heatran. And so this could be any number of things, but we know that it doesn't have leftovers, so it could be, you know, Expert Belt or Resist Berry or Adamant Orb. And ooh, that Outrage really stings, which makes me think Adamant Orb. And so we get a Thunder Para and an Ice Beam freeze, so there's just, oh, and an Instant Thaw, so there's just stuff flying around all over the place here. And now another Confusion, and now a Mewtwo Revenge Kill. So, Soulwind goes for another Calm Mind. Oh, no. That's horrible. That was... Okay, well, that was an abrupt end to the series. Whew. Well, I mean, Soulwind was behind, and he forfeits there. But, yeah, that was a really bad... I don't think there's anything more to say about that. So... That's the game we play, as unfortunate as it is. So, moving on, Stone Cold versus Gary Oak. We got a Mew lead against Dio Speed. We got a taunt. Is Stone going to Rocks? Or, yep, he's going to Rocks, and he's going to get stopped by that. He doesn't U-turn, he Fire Blast, so the Dio Speed... Okay, so there's a Psychic there, I guess, for Tentacruel lead. And I guess that Dio Speed might not have Spikes, which is unusual, to say the least, but... Yeah, it doesn't Spikes against the Tina O, it just Psychics it. Hits it quite hard, too, and dodges a Thunder, and Shadow Sneak is not good. Wow, so this Dio Speed is putting in a lot of work, and in comes Rise. So Gary's off to a perfect start, pretty much, with Rocks, Death Fodder, Deoxys, and a free Void for Darkrai, or just an attack, because Life Orb Darkrai hits surprisingly hard. If this has Thunder, then, and it looks like it stays in, yep, Thunder would have KO'd, so... And Dark Void. So Stone tried to fodder Giratina to Dark Void, but gets KO'd instead. So, I mean, it was going to be tough to switch it. I guess Dialga can switch into the presumed Dark Pulse afterwards. But it's going to chase Darkrai out. There's the Death Fodder, and now here's the momentum for Gary. And in comes Mew again. Now, with Rock Polish, I mean, Mew can boom, but it's not going to KO, because Groudon is really bulky. And it survives the Life Orb, hits really hard. Okay, that Mew's got a good chunk of attack investment, because that hit really, really hard. And here comes Manaphy. To not rest it off. That was an interesting choice. Oh, no, I think I get that. I think if he was afraid of SD on rest, then he might lose a Pokemon. So, I mean, it was unlikely for Gary to do that, given how far ahead in the game he is. But, you know, it might happen. So, at least Rain is permanent now, but Manaphy is too weak, and facing a Thunder Darkrai, which is, you know, the scourge of Manaphy. Because, yeah, you permanently block Dark Void, but it just thunders you, with Life Orb to boot. So Stone doesn't have rocks or anything, and Gary's got a pretty healthy team left compared to Stone. So, and there's a Metagross, so with agility, this can clean up. Or Rock Polish, okay. And here comes Jirachi, which is, you know, not going to stop it if it's Lum, and it's not Lum, and it's not Life Orb. That is unusual. It wishes doesn't go for any Iron Head stuff. Well, Manaphy's just going to get blown up now. So I'm not a fan of that wish. I mean, Rest now, it still needs like a Surf Crit or a full Para or Calm Mind or something. And that doesn't get it anywhere. So now it's up to Scarf Dialga to beat two unknown Pokemon. Well, one of them is Rayquaza, but, you know, if he sent it in like that, knowing that it was that, then, oh, it looks like a Scarf Rayquaza. That's a cool set. I was going to say Haban, but... and now Latios lives a Dragon Pulse with Soul Dew and KOs it back. Missing Draco Meter. I am sorry about my computer. I have no idea what's going on. But that's this game. And I have no idea why it's so slow that my music is slow as well. You know, I'm just going to loop this track. So I hope you like it, because that's what you're going to be hearing. And now we move on to Game 2 of Stone versus Gary, with Gary at a 1-0 lead. There's another Dio Speed. There's a Kyogre. Is the Dio a Sash? We wonder. Rocks. Surf. Not going to even bring it down to would-be Sash range, so Rocks and Spikes, that's what you like as Dio Speed. Now what's the follow-up? Tina O. Not ideal, but Blissey coming in. Also not an ideal Tina switch, because with Outrage, this thing gets melted. So suggests that Gary might be running some kind of stall, but either way, this suggests a Soft Boil at the very least, which means a free switch for Groudon. And in comes a regular Giratina to get there's Stone's trademark sub Groudon. Now, Giratina isn't really threatened by it, but it's not doing much back. So there's the Dragon Claw, and if I remember correctly, Stone likes to run Lava Plume on this Groudon, which is a pain for this Lugia. There's Lava Plume. And it's doing like no damage, but once the Lugia gets burned, I mean, the Blissey might have a Heal Bell or Aromatherapy, but still would be a massive pain. It's also a very slow Lugia, as we see, that Groudon actually outspeeds it. Because remember, Lugia has base 110 speed. That's, you know, Latios tier. So Giratina comes in against Lugia, and still makes a great double switch to Garchomp on the Blissey. So are we going to see a Skarm? That would be very likely, because this is a very bulky team. And there's a sub Chomp, and this is going to get walled by Skarm, because sub SD Spike Skarm, that's what it does. Now, with Rocks and Spikes up, then Lava Plume, Dragon Claw, Groudon is going to actually be quite a pain to switch into. But Stone's going to have to come up with a long-term plan to break that defensive core. And Jirachi is not a wall breaker in this regard. I mean, Trick is definitely annoying here. But if that Dialga is Scarfed and it just absorbs it, then he's falling really far behind. Yep, there's the Trick or the Scarf exchange. And now Gary has a free Dragon Pulse, which strokes that Groudon. And yeah, this one, there was a lot of potential there, but Stone's team is not... It really relies on Groudon to break, and it's not... You know, nothing was doing with those Lava Plumes. Might have been different otherwise. So this is just going to be... Is it going to be a Scarf Dialga sweep? It might. Yeah, no, a Giratina was a better move there. But it looks like the Blissey does wall the Giratina, so that was a risky bet on Gary's end. I mean, maybe he knows the Team Stone's using... I mean, it's going to get KO'd. Oh, no, it's not. But, like, the Blissey being used as the immediate Giratina switch, that surprised me. That Toxic Mist could be crucial, but... You know, unless Stone starts landing some Lava Plume burns and making some, you know, serious stuff happen, then probably not going to amount to anything. And it goes 0 for, what is that, 4, I think? Yeah, with pressure. I don't know, the PP counter was weird. Well, he gets the KO here, but, you know, Gary saw that it was not going to be Dragon Claw or Outrage Tina O, and down, and because that would have changed the fabric of the entire game otherwise, but now it's just going to be a Blissey walling Giratina, and Blissey gets up rocks there as well. And here comes a Scarf Dialga to neutralize any setting up of Rayquaza or some such. No, last Pokemon Bulk Up Dialga could win here, but it's not... Oh, and it's Protect. Okay, well, this gets interesting, because if it is sub-Bulk Up, then he could very well win this, because Dialga only has a couple Dragon Pulses left because of pressure. He doesn't even need to PP. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's really unfortunate. I thought Stone was just, you know, losing, but he was pulling the classic, you know, last Pokemon setup trick to where Scarm can't phase it anymore, because Blissey loses one-on-one. You know, Kyogre's not going to beat it. Oh, that's really unfortunate, because he had 2 Dragon Pulses left because of pressure, and one was going to get protected. So, and, you know, Stone could have just Dragon Clawed right there and KO'd it. Oh, that's really unfortunate. That should have gone to a Game 3, so... Yeah, that was, you know, really well played by Stone, because I thought he was just getting dominated. I was like, why are you sacking your, you know, whole team? And voila, that's exactly what he was going for. But yeah, so that's that series, and we move on to the next. I'm going to X out some of these tabs I have open to maybe ease some strain on my poor machine. We got Johnny G2 versus Sky Solo, Dio Speed, Kyogre. Is it Sash? Let's find out. There's spikes right away, so another rocker. There's Water Spout, and it is Sash, so he's going to get 2 layers. Or he can do some damage to... Yep, nice. That's an underrated aspect, because I've talked many times on this channel, maybe I'll make a video out of it, about how the second layer of spikes is not as good as your other options quite often, if you can't guarantee the third. And it might be... So in this instance, yeah, a second layer of spikes would be nice. And there are a lot of things you can say, oh, well, a second layer of spikes would allow you to do so-and-so, but more concretely and immediately, damaging Kyogre like that, even though if it's just for 24, that's significant, because that changes if it's in range of Thunder or not, you know, now and later on, even against Draco Meteors. So there's a Wackenberry there, and Thunder exchanges, no paralysis, and Sky Solo makes a nice double as Johnny switches out to avoid the second Thunder, and now Bronzong is in, presumably to get up rocks, and in comes Johnny's own Zong, except it's shiny, so I like that one more. So rocks again. Tina O is not a great Bronzong switch. I mean, Will-O-Wisp, yeah, but it's going to get Toxic most likely. Oh, Hypnosis. Hypnosis was an underrated aspect of Bronzong's game that we saw more of in this tournament. Now, yes, Hypnosis is terrible accuracy, but it kind of uses the Sing Blissey principle from Advance, where it gets so many free turns, and the effect is so game-changing that it's worth it, because you're going to be able to use it over and over. Also, Bronzong is very slow, so you're going to probably sleep things on the switch or after they move, so you don't have the fast sleep risk of... so let's say Breloom spores something slower and then switches out. That Pokemon it just spored can already wake up. You know, Bronzong and Sing Blissey in Advance do not have that issue. So, very cool to see that. In comes Quillfish on the sleeping, well, against Giratina. Oh, now. So, this is another reason why I like Will-O-Wisp Giratina, by the way. And, you know, Destiny Bond Quillfish, I mean, it's a nice idea, but Sky Solo plays very heads up, very aware, and just goes for another burn. Nice move. because it's not really necessary. Because if Bronzong comes in, you're not going to damage it hard anyway, and if anything else comes in, you like burning that, and you avoid the debot. So that was a very aware play. I dig that. I mean, good on Johnny to try it, but it looks like the Giratina is kind of a pain if it can deal with Bronzong. This is why Wisp Tina is really nice on Rain, because otherwise Bronzong is a massive pain. So there's the Shadow Sneak to not get bonded, and another Wisp, which... So at least Johnny gets spikes out of that exchange, but he's going to really have to make something happen with it. Now, the sleeping Bronzong is going to, make Rayquaza more threatening, but the Kyogre gets sacrificed there. In comes Rayquaza. Rayquaza of his own, and he Swords Dance on the switch. Now, that is... I thought, is it going to be Scarfed? But a great bluff, because no one's going to expect you to SD there, that's for sure. And... it looks like Johnny really needs Ray to chase out Giratina, because everything else on his, like, Kyogre is basically dead, Bronzong is ruined, and Sleep Clause is active, so it can't even threaten Sleep, and Latios, can't. It has to stay really healthy for Shadow Sneak. Either way, you would just sacrifice your Bronzong there, right? Because Bronzong's less risky, and no one's going to Rayquaza to. Unless it's Scarf and, at least, even if you think, the other guy's just trying to win a speed tie, it's like, well, I don't want to risk it because my Bronzong is burned and therefore less useful. So the SD, is that going to win him the game? That Dragon Claw does so much damage. But Burned Explosion with Life Orb means that the SD, bold prediction, but not going to get him anywhere. Now, an E-Speed, okay, so, Johnny is presumably running a max speed Rayquaza if that's his switch, as opposed to just sacrificing Kyogre or something, because that was a much more confident move. And because if you're not max speed, you don't even try that. If you are max speed, you think, okay, I'm behind, maybe not behind, but it definitely not a great position with how scary Tina O is. And I guess you want to preserve... Actually, no, that was a good move because the reward is really high. Because now, Giratina is not in... It's not in Shadow Sneak range for Tina yet. And you force the reveal of the last. So, Sky Solo's last gets revealed before yours. So, risky. And you definitely only do it if you're max speed and you think, okay... Actually, another possibility is that he calced the Dragon Claw and saw that it was Adamant Rayquaza, which is very possible, because that hit really hard. But even if it was plus speed, then, I guess probably a worthwhile risk, even though, the slowness of, I guess it avoids a double down. But no, because you sack the Kyogre, and I guess having the Death Fodder of Kyogre now is still valuable, but he must have been really confident that he was going to win that E-Speed tie, if it even is a tie, or that he was going to go first, essentially. Because if you sack Kyogre to the last Life Orb hit, and then you go to Rayquaza after, then you are still going to force the reveal of the last, because Sky Solo's Bronzong has not slept a turn, and Giratina loses one-on-one, and Rayquaza is even more out of Shadow Sneak range because it hasn't taken that Life Orb hit yet. So it might have been... We'll just say that Johnny was very confident that he was going to outspeed. So here comes Bronzong, and that is not going to take Fire Blast well, because Rain is not in effect because of Airlock. So, the Zong... Oh, that sucks. Oh, and it woke up. Ooh, that really blows. Now, we'll see if it makes a significant difference. Like, if that protects, that's awful. Yeah, maybe you should have just gone for... I hate to blame the guy who, missed a Fire Blast, but... But now he's definitely in Shadow Sneak range. He was going to be in Shadow Sneak range either way, so... Oh, looks like my computer's picking up a little in terms of performance. So now we see that last... Oh, and a sneak crit. That is unfortunate. Very extremely. And Garchomp locks into Outrage. What's the last? Oh, it's a Kingdra. So, okay, so it was really all about weakening the Rayquaza as much as possible. So nicely played by Sky Solo to, prioritize, bait the Bronzong into not, Kingdra looks like it was winning anyway as soon as Rayquaza dipped below Stealth Rock range. So, yeah, at that point, I think the luck probably did not matter at the end. Because Sneak plus Spec Surf is going to take everything out. So, we move on to game 2. You know, I'm feeling... I mean, this might be a little risky of me, but maybe we move on to another track after this loop finishes. Let's hope my computer cooperates with me. So, game 2, DOA against Kyogre. Now, this is going to have a sash. So this can just attack outright, or it can spike, or what. But Kyogre's going to go for Thunder itself, looking for the para, as Sky Solo tripped the Wackenberry. So, Wackenberry tripped and spikes. So that's a successful DOA leadoff, and now Dialga's going to get a Brock, so immediate hazard pressure, and there's another Zonk. Oh, no, just going right for the Thunder and getting a para right away on Zonk. So, but immediate hazard pressure, assuming this Dialga has rocks, which it does, and the even gets a turn advantage to do whatever, which, you know, seems to be Roar here, as the Bronzong sets up rocks. I guess, well, it does mean that Dialga doesn't take an Earthquake, which is big. Now, Latias is revealed. Stealth Rock chipped there, and Bronzong, I mean, EQ to a bulky Dialga is going to be doing, I mean, not nothing, but not a lot. So Latias gets dragged in again. This could be quite significant later on, and just goes for the Dragon Pulse, does nothing. I mean, it's not going to 2-hit KO, and Dialga's going to win this one-on-one. So this is why support Dialga is as nasty as it is. And I don't agree with that recover at all, because you just gave the, you know, nothing changed in the matchup, but you just gave Dialga more leftovers. So, I mean, I guess that, I mean, it shows that Dialga has rolls on that Dragon Pulse, because the first one did 52 and the second did 50, but, you know, Latias just basically stayed at the health it was before. So there's an EQ, which does an okay chunk to Kyogre with rocks, and now Kyogre gets, well, I guess it depends how, no, okay, it looks, Sky Solo stays in confidently and finishes it off. Maybe not confidently, but I'm not going to analyze that, because it's very likely that it was a scarf, and if it is a scarf, then it is confident. Otherwise, it would be just, you know, confident that it's going to be faster than a lead Ogre, which is a reasonable assumption to make for sure, because a lot of lead Ogres focus on bulk and special attack. So, in comes Dialga again. Dialga to get sacrificed. There's a Draco miss. If it's a non-boosted Draco... Oh, well, it crits, okay. But I was going to say, non-boosted Draco will not take Dialga out in that scenario after the lefties, so that might have helped, but there we go. So there's another Swift Swimmer. There's Kabutops coming in with Low Kick and no Life Orb, so potential banned. And Johnny reveals Groudon, so Double Weather serving him really nicely here. In comes Tina O to protect those hazards, and that's the function of the team. That's not what it's doing right now. So it goes for a Rock Polish. I don't know if I think that was a waste, because I think you can just attack. You can go for Dragon Claw because what are the common Pokemon going to be paired with Spikes DOA and Rocks Dialga? Giratina O, right? And that is the Groudon switch. And even if not, then another common answer is going to be a Lottie Twin, because you got to have that Kyogre check and offensive threat that pairs well with Spikes. And if those aren't coming in now, then you're probably going to destroy with Groudon when it next gets in on Kabutops. But either way, I think attacking was much better, because Rock Polish pretty much, you know, it does nothing if you're not going to commit to the sweep, and you're definitely not going to commit to the sweep when Kyogre and Kabutops are still waiting in the wings. So I disagree with that. Now Bronzong switches in and absorbs the Draco Meteor nicely, and Toxic goes off on the Kyogre. So at least it's on a timer, but that Dialga's offensive probably not going to love the prospect of taking 2 Surfs. Yeah, that's rough. Now if it's Scarf Dialga, and it is, then it can get the jump, and it does. So now Kabutops is going to come in, presumably finish off the Dialga. Oh no, good move, good move. Bronzong is definitely going to be less valuable. I mean, the Dialga is in Shadow Sneak range, but now Groudon comes in, and it's going to be a game of lasts again. I mean, Sky Solo's got a lot of offense coming. Oh, Weavile, I see. That's unusual. Ice Punch crits and takes Groudon out. I wonder if that KOs otherwise. So now we have a speed tie between Darkrai and Weavile. How unusual. And it's pretty much going to be the decider. I mean, accuracy withstanding. And Weavile wins the speed tie, and, you know, it was advantage there because there's Dark Void and Focus Blast accuracy. But Yeah, so Weavile finishes this series off. That was an unusual one. Okay, Ice Punch probably KOs offensive Groudon from there. I'm so well versed in how terrible Weavile's power level is in OU that I'm a little doubtful. So we close more tabs, and did I just is this the game we already had open? No, we had another. Oh, okay. I guess there's a game 3, and because I took these from the replay Discord. So apologies for the spoilers there. But I guess Johnny wins this game, which is interesting to think about considering he literally misses Stone Edge on Ho-Oh on the first turn. So I'm, well, intrigued to see how this will shake out. So I apologize, and I'm going to blame the ordering of the replays in that. Although it's also my fault for not checking the URLs and seeing what number they go in. So Johnny is going to... That Earthquake does so much damage, and it doesn't activate a Sash. And the fact that it's Stone Edge makes me think that is a bulky CB Tar. Everything points to it. We've already talked about the Stone Edge on lead Tar being exclusive to CB thing. And CB Ho-Oh avoids a KO, and that is really unfortunate. So in comes Rayquaza, and I think it definitely shows that it is CB Ho-Oh, because if it wasn't CB, then it would have gone... If it wasn't CB and it was just doing a lot of damage because the T-Tar was frail, which is unlikely because frail T-Tars aren't going to run Stone Edge. But even if, then if you're not CB Ho-Oh, then you are going to go for Sacred Fire there, so nothing else can switch in freely. So, double to T-Tar there on the Dialga switch, and gets up Rocks. So, could be Rock CB Tar. I mean, I personally think that's the likeliest, because it's got Rock. It took a CB Ho-Oh EQ, and it has Stone Edge. So, CB, Rocks, T-Tar, good set. And at least got up Rock. So, great double switch from Johnny there. And now going, again with that Rock Polish. And not taking the Dialga out because it is not Life Orb, which also means it's not taking Recoil. I mean, if it was Life Orb, it would have taken it out. And now going for the Dragon Claw to cover a Tina O switch. So Sky Solo did not want to... I think Sky Solo is really paranoid about something like Lucario, or really insistent on winning the Weather War. Well, I mean, with Groudon and Rayquaza, then the likelihood of sweeping with Swift Swim in the event that Sky Solo did bring 3 to this series is unlikely. You know, it's low for sure. But not wanting to use a fully healthy Tina O and sacrificing Dialga like that, I mean, must also be very confident that there's not a Kyogre in the back. I wonder why that is. But, I mean, Giratina O is healthy now. Let's see if that health comes to anything. But now Rayquaza comes in with Rocks up, and Ho-Oh is going to be sacrificed. That's big. I mean, if that got KO'd first turn, then that's not death fodder you have there. But that's the game. So, Life Orb goes off. Here comes Latios. And here comes Jirachi to absorb it, taking big chunk from Dragon Pulse. So, Scarf. Now, is it going to be Iron Head or U-turn? Iron Head. And chunks the Groudon. So, in comes Ray. Eats a T-Wave. Very safe move for Groudon to go for. And it's going to get Dragon Clawed, and if it's Spit F, it's going to eat Draco Meteor. Yeah, that eats it pretty decently. And it's going to be out of E-Speed range, so another Dragon Claw is... Oh, well, it's not even going to get that E-Speed off. So Johnny's having a rough time. And in comes Mewtwo. Now, okay, that's another Pokemon to keep your Giratina healthy for. I mean, healthy Dialga would have helped with that too, of course. And I mean, there's still Latios, but... So, this is a great example of why I think Draco Meteor... I mean, that Latios might have Draco Meteor, and Sky Solo might just be playing it really safe. But I think Latios without Draco Meteor should just be banned. That instant damage is too big. So, in comes Tina O, and Dialga is the last, and it shows leftovers. So, is that going to be Bulk Up if it's lefties late in the game? No, it's lefties Draco Meteor. That's an underrated set. Because as soon as people see lefties, they think the Dialga is either Bulk Up or a less threatening support variant, but... You can just run a very offensive, and there's Latios, and it's, an offensive Dialga, not Latios, and still run leftovers on it, and it makes a huge difference in terms of being able to take hits, both defensively, and it increases your longevity, so it makes you more of an offensive threat. So that was okay. Sky Solo's Latios does have Draco Meteor, and it misses, so some luck returning. And Johnny goes for Roar to reveal that last. So it looks like Mewtwo is in good position to clean up. I mean, depending on the set, of course. But Latios comes in. Oh, nice move. Trying to sacrifice the Latios so the Garchomp can sub down to Salic. Or no, roaring with the Latios. But yeah, so now Garchomp, it doesn't matter if the Garchomp doesn't KO the Dialga because the Dialga is at -4 special attack. It still looks like Mewtwo is the move here, though. And a nice roar from Johnny there. He doesn't want the Dialga or the Garchomp setting up or getting Salic. And nicely... Okay, that's an interesting mix-up of Dracos there. I mean, and now I assume you roar. No, you definitely roar because... No, roar is definitely the move here because that way you don't risk a Draco Meteor miss on a sub, and if the sub is used here, and if he sacks Latios and then it comes back in and uses sub again and you miss, then at least you tried. But yeah, even if the Garchomp gets a Salic boost, it's still not going to break through Mewtwo. So Johnny did wind up taking this game 1 or 2, whatever it was. And yeah, he's going to try and get that Salic, but it's going to be just out of range. Oh, it's Scarfed. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I should have been paying more attention to the sets. I just had endgame Salic on my mind. I like the synergy between Banho and Scarfchomp. That's cool. So yeah, either way, Mewtwo was very well positioned there. So nice work to Johnny for that one. However, and well played to both, in fact. So, I extend that to everyone who's been playing in this tournament, by the way. It's been a joy. So, we move on to the next series, which is Lorianne versus Alex Walls. Fori lead, Darkrai. Is this going to be a Lum, Fori, or Chesto? So, yeah, there are T-Spikes, and if this is offense that is unprepared, then this could be a very quick game. There's Blissey on Heatran. Groudon comes in to... Oh, get taunted. That's unusual. So Blissey coming in again because it's not any real risk. And, well, there's the first T-Spikes victim, second alongside Darkrai. And, yeah, Sunstall was very, very prominent in this tournament, and this game is probably going to be a good example of why. It can be very unforgiving if your offensive team is not prepared for it. Since there's Cresselia, the eternal Groudon wall, because Groudon does not learn Mega Horn for some strange reason. And unless Alex... I mean, even if Alex does have something like a CB Tar to remove Crest, you got to have that anti-T-Spikes plan. So, and that's why Fori is such a good lead, because it gets him up against a lot of common stuff. So, switching around the Crests, I mean, this is looking kind of like a runaway win for Lorianne, just based on this early. But that's the thing, Sunstall shuts you down pretty early if you don't have the stuff for it. So there's Giratina. I believe people were running EQ on this to not lose to Taunt Heatran, because Taunt Heatran does otherwise, and there you go. Yeah, Taunt Heatran does otherwise mess this team up really bad. It ruins Crest, ruins Blissey with Toxic, and Fori obviously, and Groudon doesn't want to switch in. And the last is usually something like Scarf Dialga. And, Latios. What am I talking about? I mean, or a bulky Dialga feasibly, but something that handles Specs Kyogre, rain-boosted water moves. So, I mean, I guess theoretically Spadef Giratina can also handle that. But it needs to resist water for sure, I think. So even if it's a Scarf Dialga, then it's okay because then you have the 2 water resist and Giratina has pressure, and and early T-Spikes help with Specs Water Spout spam a lot, but just like if a Specs Kyogre let off and start spamming Water Spout, you can't just fold to that. So, it's Rest because Resto Chesto, that's fun. So there's the Dialga, yep, and Scarf Dialga is generally nice because it gives you an actual cleanup option. But yeah, other than that, otherwise, Heatran's going to mess you up, so that's why people are running EQ Giratina. So I really doubt that Scarf Jirachi is going to win the game. But yeah, Alex's team is not well equipped here, and we're just seeing... Oh, it has aromatherapy too, of course it does. So Cresselia, walls, like everything under Sun. I mean, look at that. That's ridiculous. That's nothing. And Moonlight, of course, heals a million HP. It does only have 8 PP, but that doesn't really make too much of a difference when you're putting the opposing team on such a fast-ticking clock. So Giratina has Roar too. Oh, EQ Giratina also helps against Lucario, which is nice. I mean, there is Scarf Dialga, but it's nice if you can actually switch into it with something. Because Cress is not... I mean, it T-Waves it, but it doesn't actually hurt it very much. So, and then it just gets, you know, multiple SD set up against it. So this is... I mean, unless the Jirachi starts critting, but there's pressure on Giratina and Dialga. So... yeah, and it's rolling good. Rest Talk Roar, nice. Or Rest Talk Roar EQ, so... I mean, even this thing getting tricked is not going to save much because... I don't know what that Sleep Talk was, as opposed to just going to Cress. Probably just like a misclick or something. Because if it gets tricked to Scarf, then it doesn't Sleep Talk fail. So even if the Sleep turns were miscounted, then you shouldn't be using Sleep Talk there. But I mean, it doesn't really matter because we're just so far ahead. So Latias, Blissey, Jirachi, even if this has like Healing Wish or something, then you know there's not enough of an offensive threat presence on Alex's team, or nothing really, because the Groudon isn't even a setup set, it's a support set. So there's not really enough flowing offense or synergistic offense for it to go anywhere. So, I mean, even if this Latias is like Calm Mind Refresh or something, which is, you know, generally not a good set, then yeah, and it's not that set. And I don't even know if it would win here necessarily. If the Scarf Dialga has Outrage, because Scarf Dialga specifically runs Outrage for things like Calm Mind Latias and Weaken Calm Mind Kyogre. So it cleans up, and we move on to game 2. There's a Darkrai lead, polar opposite of Fori, and it's Dark Voids as the T-Tar runs away and absorbs with Kyogre. In comes Dialga to set up rocks or do its Dialga things against Kyogre. There's a Sleep Talk, Water Spout doing pretty hefty chunk. So we see that it is a choiced one, but choice Sleep Talk means you got to switch out there, and Tar comes in on the Dialga. So Sash Tar does match up nicely against Dialga. Whoa, and it goes right for the low kick and KOs it. So that was a surprise. The rock seemed so safe and obvious that Lorianne clearly thought, oh, I'm going to go for a T-Wave, or I'm going to Roar and scout more of the team or something. And nice move by Alex, just going right for the attack there. And it really stung it, goodness. So he's going to run away from... So I think it might be Banded, because that did a lot of damage. So Kyogre comes in, Hydros, and Palkia goes for Draco Meteor, which is rare, and it hits really hard. Draco Meteor Palkia is underrated, because you think, oh, it just runs Spatial Rem because it's more reliable, but it can run Spatial Rem and Draco Meteor. Remember, the more Dragon, the better. But T-Wave goes off, and Kyogre's weakened, but now Scarm is getting up Hazard, so... this thing, I mean, okay, it does have Thunder, so it's not going to be... And it dodges Toxic, so Giratina as a Wall Breaker is gonna pose a threat, but you got to watch out for that Darkrai, which is coming in now. Or just a Giratina coming in revenge. I guess that Giratina is plus speed and was very confident in its revenge killing capability, but it dodges. But in comes Latias, which T-Tar, not even a sack. I mean, if this is Calm Mind Grass Knot, I mean, it depends on the bulk, of course, but no, Calm Mind Draco and another Draco miss. And just go, oh, I don't agree with that pursuit at all. No, you got to go for the crunch there. No, if it's Calm Minding, then it's going to, and it knows your T-Tar's coming in. It's not going to switch out there. You got to attack. You can't take 2 hits from it there. So, and even if Darkrai comes in, then, so what? Alex's team is healthy enough to where I think he was still in a decent position, but that luck definitely, I mean, it was healthy because of that luck. So, I think T-Tar and stuff still helped out enough, but I mean, this Darkrai still, if that Palkia, no, I think that Palkia was Specs or Lustrous or something, because that Draco Meteor hit really hard. So in comes Bronzong, and that's probably, barring some crit flinch action, which is exactly what we get. And there's the boom, and there's the game. So tie going to game 3. That was a messy one. Who knows how it would have shaped up, but nice early game from Alex there. Dio Speed Darkrai. Is it going to be Scarf? No, it's just... Well, it might still be Scarf. But it goes for sorry, the Deoxys might be Scarf. We don't know that yet. But we know that the Darkrai almost certainly isn't because, yeah, Icy wins. And now we know the Deoxys is Scarf because it's still faster than Darkrai at -1. And so it's probably going to be some sort of Sash Darkrai lead as it's now Dark Voids and sleeps the Kyogre. So Alex off to a pretty strong start depending on what this thing is going to do next. And as Taunt, so Bronzong can't even get up rocks on it and Kyogre can't Sleep Talk. So very interesting set there. And, I mean, if Bronzong's only move to hit it is EQ, then that's a 4-hit KO, and looks like Dark Pulse is going to 4-hit KO at first. So, at best, Bronzong trades with Explosion, but this Darkrai has put in a lot of work. So, and that's exactly what happens. But this Darkrai has taken a 2-for-1 and slept another Pokemon. And Alex goes right for the Draco, does not... Lorianne staying, and I understand, because Lorianne is quite far behind, but... and now, oh, and there's a, so I was surprised that Alex stayed in there because his team is much more healthy and, you know, Lorianne just lost a steel type, so I understand why Latios had no choice but to stay in there. But Alex's team is healthier and has not revealed any steals yet, so that did surprise me. But now Kingdra comes in and Lugia absorbs that Draco Meteor effortlessly, and if this is a calm mindset, yeah, unless this Giratina gets, like, Crit Thunder or something, then this game is looking like it's over. Because I mean, there's a para, so that's step 1. But Calm Mind Lugia famously rips a lot of offense apart. But I don't think there should be any messing around here. Just, you know, take the KO on the Giratina while you can get it. And, okay, I mean... Because Ice Beam E-Power is usually the coverage, and that does not do well against Kyogre, so, you know... just take the KO on Giratina while you can get it, and then deal with that later. But Kingdra comes in Waterfall, so it's looking mixed instead of Specs, and that bounces off Lugia too. I mean, Para-Flinch, obviously, but it's just doing too little damage. And, of course, your window in which to meaningfully crit it, well, okay, there you go. What I was going to say is lower because of pressure. So, Lorianne getting a little bit back, but it might be too little too late, especially if this doesn't, yeah. Okay, well, at least the Lugia was dealt with, but it did KO Giratina. Of course, there is, you know, Kingdra is pretty much the ideal Pokemon to mount a comeback with, but Alex's team is just a little healthy, and, you know, you can't switch around the Kyogre Thunder like that, so it looks like Alex is going to take this series. And unless the Kingdra gets up to some serious miracle work, and there's a Hydro Pump, who's hoping that it would be Thunderless Kyogre, like Calm Mind T-Wave or something, but that is not the case, and Alex takes the series 2-1. So we move on to the next one. High Lord versus... how many time? Oh, we're pretty good on time. Pogies versus High Lord. Ho-Oh lead. Love to see it versus Kyogre lead. Can this be banded and just Oko the Kyogre right away? I love it when that happens. No. Getting right out of there, going to Latias. And Latias takes a Water Spout. Not a Specs Water Spout, but a Water Spout. So great double. Groudon covers Latias switch-ins like T-Tar and steals and Blissey nicely. So High Lord gets a Rocks advantage, and in comes Kyogre again to spam some more Water Spout, which Latias isn't to a KO range of. So now, okay, so it's not Scarfed. I mean, okay, of course it's not Scarfed because it's in the lead slot. This lead Scarf Kyogre is... too much can go wrong there for a Pokemon you're going to hinge on for its speed. So High Lord goes right for the Thunder, and in comes T-Tar. And it is going to get trapped, but the T-Tar is down, and there's still no rocks up. So, and is he going to maintains momentum or gets the KO with the U-turn? So nicely done there. Reveals Dialga, and that's a great move. So it reveals another Pokemon for High Lord, but it also forces Pogies to reveal another Pokemon, which helps with game planning. So Ho-Oh comes in on the Blissey. I mean, that's totally fine. Before rocks go up, and so the reveal, you know, the rocks going up is fine because now Ho is going to smack something with Brave Bird. And that is not banded, but it is going to smash Garchomp. It doesn't miss with Sandvale. And in comes Cresselia. So High Lord is running a Crest Sun offense team. Interesting choice. As Pogies goes right for that Outrage to just hit the Ho as hard as possible. Not fearing a rock move. And just takes the KO. Doesn't miss Ice Beam. I was surprised he didn't try to replace the Sun, or the Sand with Sun. But I guess no, he doesn't really want to keep that Groudon as healthy as possible. Because there's still the Kyogre. He's got to deal with two weathers in this game, so really managing that carefully. Groudon comes in on Kyogre, and in comes Skarm. Is that... well, there's a T-Wave. Nice move there to catch a switch in, as well as ruin Kyogre if it stays in. And it does have a move to hit Skarm. Lava Plume is an excellent move on Groudon. Should be near standard. And down Skarm goes, getting up some spikes. So there's hazards with this Kyogre now. So we're going to have a race here, as after this turn where Ho-Oh gets sacked, both teams have 3 Pokemon. And Hylord has the advantage with momentum with Dialga. Now, if Blissey walls it, then that makes things a lot more straightforward. But it's Protect. Okay, so if this is Bulk Up Protect, then it's going to set up all over Blissey, and that is the ball game. Yeah, okay. Well, there's Groudon. I don't know why... I don't know why Groudon wasn't the switch as soon as it revealed Protect. That was... I mean, the Groudon being faster is certainly helpful. So, okay, he's actually out of the woods fairly decently. But that could have been really disastrous. I don't know if he was afraid of like a sub-protect special attacking set, which is a very cool set, but unlikely on a team without heavy hazard support. So the Groudon SDs and then runs from Hylord's Groudon, which is interesting. I'm not sure about that because he was at high health and he was going to 2 a KO or come close. I guess he wanted to avoid a Lava Plume burn. There's a lot of stuff I do not understand here. I don't know what... Because Groudon is not coming back in, and if it does come back into an EQ, then you want that. I don't know why the free KO wasn't taken. Kyogre's obviously not switching it. If it switches in, then you want that too. I don't know where the Jirachi switch came from. Because spamming Iron Head against Blissey is... if you expect Pogies to switch, you don't go to Jirachi, you just EQ, and if you expect him to stay in, you just take the free KO. Now, obviously, if you don't always need to go for a KO if the Pokemon coming in after can set up in a way you can't handle, but I don't think that's the case. I guess the most I can think of is that he didn't want Blissey to... He didn't want Kyogre to come in against Groudon after, because then he can't switch into Dialga with it. Yeah, okay, he can't switch into Dialga with it, with Rocks and Spikes. So he wants to have Jirachi out against it so he can try and Iron Flinch it down and sacrifice Jirachi, maybe take some health off the Kyogre and then send in Dialga. Okay, that makes more sense because Jirachi's health is not important. So okay, I'll take that. And if Groudon comes in after, then you just go back to your own Groudon and everything's fine. And Jirachi's still out of hazard range, so that's important. So that was a heads-up move, but this is exactly what he wanted. He wanted to do this, and even if the Jirachi gets KO'd, then it's going to make sure that the Kyogre is damaged by 1 Iron Head at the very least, and make sure that Dialga doesn't come in taking damage. Whereas, so if a Kyogre comes in against Groudon beforehand, then you're sacking Jirachi also, but this way you're sacking Jirachi against Kyogre and getting damage for it. So that was it's either that or you go to Dialga and take damage straight up, and Kyogre is not getting damaged. You go to you have Groudon in against Kyogre, and either you lose Jirachi and do no damage, or you switch in Dialga and take a lot of damage while doing no damage. So this way he got to control how he got to sacrifice against Kyogre by doing damage to it with Iron Head. So that was the more I think about it, the more I liked it. That was a great move. Very, very heads up. And it's a fantastic example that newer players should learn from for thinking ahead and thinking outside of the box. Because even though the KO there looked so free, it wasn't that simple. So really nicely done by Hylord, especially with how low he was on the timer. He was like down to his last 15, or down to his last 20 when he made that move. So great, cannot praise that enough. Comes in, Calm Minds on the bulk up. So it looks like this is going to be a Dialga versus, or a Groudon versus Groudon finish, but since the Dialga is going to get a Dragon Claw in on it first, well, I mean, the Groudon can also SD, so barring Lava Plume, it looks like, I would say Pogies is still advantaged. Well, the +1 Dragon Claw is going to sting decently. Actually, no, I forgot. It already got hit by a +1 Dragon Claw earlier, and it did nothing. So this comes down to Lava Plume burn, I think. There's the EQ. Oh, no, even if a lava plume burns, then it's not going to... Yeah, that did way too much. So, yeah, Pogies is burned +2 Groudon, finishes off High Lord's Groudon for the game. That was a great battle. I really like that one. Pogies leads 1-0. Now let's have them in the same positions they were before. There's T-Tar, there's Dio Speed, there's Rocks, there's CB Payback, and it just destroys it. No Colbur Berry. Kyogre comes in with Rocks up. What's going to come in? Latias. Surf. And right for the Thunder to punish a T-Wave, which is... You know what? If you're going to get T-Waved, then, maybe run Refresh, but also make the Kyogre take damage for it. Oh, that's a nice move on Pogies' end, going for the Calm Mind there. He took some time to calc it. So, and he survives the Draco Meteor just barely, and now he's going to take the Latias. No, he's not going to take it out, and no full para. I mean, the Latias is effectively out of commission. So it's High Lord hasn't lost a poke yet. I mean, Latias is about to get KO'd, but then it's still going to be 5-4 him, and he doesn't have hazards, of course. 5-4 him, he's facing rocks, but doesn't have rocks, but he's going to have switch advantage, so Latias gets sacrificed. In comes CB Tar for another big smack, probably. Yep, you can just probably go for payback, so you don't let Giratina O come in. And Dugtrio gets sacrificed. There's the payback, because even if Dialga stays in and risks getting destroyed, then you still hit it hard with payback, and it's unlikely that Dialga gets sacked there. So you just want to spam your stab. And remember, CB Payback hits harder than Crunch. And in Gen 4, for those who don't know, Payback does have double power if you use it on the Switch. So, which is why Payback stopped being used after Gen 4. So Dugtrio is, I mean, certainly an unusual choice to see on that team. Not quite sure what it was doing there, but now Rayquaza is going to come in and threaten a... Not quite going to KO with that Life Orb EQ, because remember, CB Tar does hit a lot of... I mean, Rayquaza lives a CB Payback, which is just testament to how naturally bulky Rayquaza is. But, yeah, CB Tar investing in bulk is pretty nasty. So High Lord is now up 4-2, and he's got 4 unrevealed pokes as opposed to Pogies just 1. Now, of course, both those Pokemon are at full HP, but one of them is a Dialga, which is probably Scarf against a support. No, we don't know if that... okay, if that Bronzong is there, then High Lord's Dialga is probably not support. So in comes a Wob, which is going to Encore the Zong into Rocks, and then there's not much else Pogies is going to do about it. Because, yeah, and he forfeits because he knows that he's not going to be able to beat this thing with Dialga and the 2 unrevealed. So, 1-1, and we move on to Game 3. What a great series. This is my favorite of the round so far. Dialga, Kyogre, Rocks. Nice, nice. And in comes Blissey to also set up Rocks. In comes Jirachi. Are we going to see some trick action? Is the Kyogre going to... No, we're going to see some T-Wave action. The Kyogre has a Lum go off, so that's a good option for a Kyogre lead. I mean, it's we've been seeing a lot of Wackenberries, but remember, Lum lets you actually destroy Darkrai. Or maybe at least burn a Dark Void and bring it down to a Sash, at least. So Jirachi scouts with Protect and sees Water Spout. I was going to say Water Punch. And Water Spout goes off and does hefty damage to Latias, and now Blissey's going to come in. And again, High Lord really paranoid of getting T-Wave for free. So he just goes right for a Dragon Pulse, not a Draco Meteor. And now recover on an Ice Beam, not fearing T-Wave there as much. I guess, even if he gets T-Waved, then at least Latias is healthy enough to switch into Kyogre again. And so this is why hazards are important, because even though it doesn't seem like much to just have rocks on both sides, then if Pogies has rocks and High Lord doesn't, then Pogies' Kyogre is coming in next time and not getting weakened as Latias does get weakened. So just as one minor example. I mean, everyone knows Stealth Rock is the best move in the game and all that stuff, but when you really take into account just how much it impacts, even in certain areas where it doesn't seem that impressive, then it's big. So there's another T-Wave hitting Forretress this time, and High Lord's going to show his own Kyogre and before T-Spikes go down. That's big. Now it's going to have lefties. Is it going to be Sub-Calm Mind? Is it going to ruin the Blissey? Or is it going to be Calm Mind Rest Talk? Well, it's Calm Mind of some sort. Could also be Calm Mind Offensive with 3 attacks, though that set generally does enjoy lefties. There is a Hydro Miss and also a Toxic Miss. Now the Hydra, that's, it kind of evens out, but with the extra turn of lefties, Blissey might be out of range of the Kyogre at this point, where this before it might have gotten KO'd. So Jirachi avoids the Toxic and baits in Fori, and which Hylord takes advantage of with a double to Dialga. Now the Dialga might or probably wouldn't have Fire Blast on a rain team like this, but Pogies still going to go to Blissey, play it very safe, and Dialga shows Aura Sphere, not even Thunder, so interesting choice. Dialga also does not have lefties, which is notable. Probably, something like Lum for Darkrai. So Jirachi scaring out the Blissey again and getting that double on Fori, racking up. Like either Fori's getting chipped or it's getting, chipped directly now for the cost of a spin or another hazard rather, or it's getting chased out for more rocks damage. So, I mean, Hylord's on a timer here and he goes for Thunder Wave to maybe do something to the Blissey before switching out of it. No, he's going to try and muscle through it here, and I mean, okay, if the Blissey's only attacking move is Ice Beam, and it is, then it's probably not going to love beating Dialga one-on-one because it's going to get pressure stalled. But he's going to go to Jirachi regardless, which walls it. And he goes right for the Iron Head, thinking Blissey might stay in and attack. Because he has been pulling a lot of doubles. And now he reveals the Giratina to block spin, but Fori is going to spike up instead, playing it safe. And that's a nice move because you don't really need the spin, but Spikes does put way more pressure on Hylord pulling his double switch antics with Dialga and Jirachi as he's been doing so far. So, very nice heads-up move from Pogies, and Jirachi comes back in. I mean, Hylord's game, the Giratina does we did miss a turn there. I should have paused. It thunders, and Pogies tries to, spike again, payback, Toxic, something. And it gets a full pair. So that's key because half of what Pogies has been threatening with has been what Hylord's been threatening with has been his support Jirachi. And that's not really a Pokemon you really see threatening much. But if it has Wish, then it's going to keep his other Pokemon healthy. So in a weird way, support Jirachi and this, Aura Sphere T-Wave Dialga are actually quite threatening. I mean, we don't know it has Wish. It could have Healing Wish or something. But now Fori is low enough to where he feels comfortable going for the Paraflinches. And the spin goes off. And more spikes are going down. And Pogies is happy to just let the PP get burned. Especially as he goes to Giratina after. And now the Iron Heads are really running out. So now it's... Pogies is getting him in a tighter and tighter Vice Grip. As there's a Sub Protect and a Calm Mind on the Protect. Nice move. And there's Roar. Okay. Sub Protect Roar. Good set. So it means that you can't get sat on by something that might otherwise wall you. Like Sub Calm Mind Protect Dragon Pulse. You just lose the Skarmory. But with Roar, then you just kind of phase them around with all these hazards. And this looks like it can get really ugly. I mean, Sub Calm Mind, people wanted to use Sub Calm Mind a lot, so they started using Sub Calm Mind Roar. But Sub Protect Roar, I think, is better overall. So props to Pogies for that. That's an interesting use of Substitute there because the leftovers showed that Giratina was faster than Kyogre twice. But I guess maybe he didn't want to Roar in Latios. I mean, it shouldn't matter at this point because the hazard advantage is just so suffocating. So there's another sub, and now Dialga gets up rocks again. Okay, Manaphy. Now that's a Pokemon that can bring it back because it can rest and Calm Mind and hazards. Toxic isn't going to threaten it, but he's going to have to pull some last Pokemon miracles, and he's got to hope that Pogies' last Pokemon, if he's got like a Latios of his own or a Scarf Dialga, that he doesn't position it to sweep him first, because Manaphy might not be taking the T-Spikes, but it is taking the other hazards and getting phased around. Oh, that Draco Meteor Mist really burns now because now it's down to 0 PP, but it was going to just sub again because Pogies has a no-attack Giratina and has Spite instead. So Sub Protect, Pressure, and Spite. So in a tier where Draco Meteor is like the most spammed attack, or even Dragon Pulse, then this is a way to keep up Sub. So that is really nasty. So props to Pogies for that. Because Giratina can take like a strong Dragon Pulse and then Spite and then Protect, and with all the stuff you've been hitting it with, and nasty. So we do see Wish here, but it looks like Giratina is running away from this game. Especially because it just spited that Jirachi's Wish. So now he just lost 4 wishes. That's pretty intense. And now we see more Roars, and Manaphy's getting dragged in, and yeah, it's going to rest, but everything else is going to get KO'd. So it's really, the ball is really in Pogies' court to not lose. He can even Spite Rest here. I think that might have been better because if you Spite Rest, then you really limit the ways Manaphy can beat you. Because now it's just like a full health Manaphy. So, I mean, the Kyogre's getting dragged in and roaring, and yeah, Manaphy's in again, but just getting roared all over the place. And God, this Giratina is the devil, which is fitting, given its design. And there, the wish comes true, and it does show that it has Ice Beam, so that's relevant at least. But Calm Mind, and he can spite the Ice Beam if he wants, because already down to he's already lost 4 Ice Beams just by hitting Giratina once and then hitting the sub once after that. So imagine if it got spited, down to 12 Ice Beams. Oh, nope, never mind. You're down to 8 already. So Jirachi does burn a Spite there. The PP stall move getting PP stalled briefly. And it fails there as it hits on the hits the Latias switch. But look, Dragon Pulse getting spited there. I think Pogies just kind of flexing at this point. I don't know why he's not roaring more. He's still got 17 roars, so I mean, at this point, it really is his game to lose. So here comes Kyogre, which does wall the Manaphy, because Manaphy does not have Grass Knot. And Manaphy does have some coverage issues. It's one of its flaws. But, I mean, okay, I don't know about this, because is he just going to go crit fishing? I don't know why he put himself in a position where Giratina was forced to switch out, because he could have, like, pretty much soloed the entire team with Giratina. And that's why, I don't know why that's Dragon Pulse. Like, who cares about Latias's Dragon Pulse PP? Just roar everything around and kill it with hazards. So that was really wasteful because, okay, the Kyogre has Calm Mind and Thunder. So that's much better. Because I was going to say, if that's just a Thundering Kyogre and you're just playing the crit me, or sorry, please let me crit game against the resting Manaphy, that is really foolish. But that's not the case. So Latias comes in, and now it's got to catch up with Calm Mind, and Pogies is just attacking for... Okay, that I don't understand either. Why is the Kyogre being sacked when Latias at full health? That was incredibly wasteful. And now Manaphy... If Manaphy wins this game, I don't know what to say, because that should not be happening. So now Lugia comes in, yet another pressure Pokemon. Okay, it's a Trick Scarf Lugia. Alright, so it gets frozen. That doesn't really matter. Manaphy being scarfed is the final nail in the coffin. So I guess this game was really impossible to lose, but I still think it was careless. It's not good practice to throw pokes away like that. There's 4 gets sacked. Giratina gets another sub, and Ironhead gets like spited, even though that wasn't really necessary. Just yeah, everything should just be getting roared. Yeah, so Spite is not really important at this point. And Giratina is getting back to 1,000,000 health, so it really looks like this is going to be the ball game. There's another sub, Latias. I mean, Hylord's hanging. To his credit, Hylord is hanging in there and going for like a desperation last Pokemon Latias sweep or something, but it's not going to amount to anything, I don't think. I guess he's trying to PP stall the Giratina with Jirachi, because he does still have a lot of Pokemon left, to his credit. And he's being smart about his Latias PP. He can burn all the Calm Minds he wants. He uses Thunder there, as opposed to, so he doesn't get Dragon Pulse or Recover spited. And gets roared there. I mean, fine. So, and Jirachi's running out of wishes, though, because he only got 3 left. But there goes Dialga to hazard, so now 1 less. And now here comes Latias. Double the Jirachi on the Bliss. No, he just spites. He was trying to axe that dragon. I don't understand why that... See, that didn't need to be risked either. Just, risking a Dragon Pulse crit doing something stupid. I mean, as unlikely as him going for Dragon Pulse there. I don't... Yeah, I think Giratina can just click everything and win. So the Wish heals Latias without it burning a Recover PP. And there goes a Dragon Pulse on the Bliss, and... I mean, the Bliss can get PP stalled by Manaphy and Jirachi, which is kind of funny. And Giratina O comes in. Is he going to stay in and risk Outrage? No, Lugia comes in and does get Outrage. And now are we going to see that Scarf Dialga last? Celebi last. That is unusual. And it has HP. Is that like a Scarf Celebi or something? It looks like it because there's no lefties there, so Scarf Celebi is unusual to say the least. Wait, no, there's a Scarf Lugia. I don't know why there'd be a Scarf Celebi. Well, I don't know why there'd be a Celebi in general. So Latias gets Toxic, and that's going to be the game. Because even Rest, I mean, Hylar's not giving up, to his credit. And, okay, now he does. So Pogies takes that series. So how many series do we have left? We got 1 series, 2 series, 3 series left. Yeah, okay, we'll finish them all in this video. Why not? M-Dragon Tomahawk. Now, this is an exciting one. Groudon and Kyogre leads. Groudon is faster, and therefore Kyogre sets up the rain. That is how that mechanic works. So Blissey switches into a full power water spout and gets smacked, but added to a KO range as Tomahawk runs and goes to Dialga. Sets up rocks. Fori comes in. Magnezone comes in to trap it on the T-Spikes. So, and we see a Specs Magnezone because that Thunder destroys it. So M-Dragon elects to go for a layer of spikes as opposed to spinning and making Dialga set up again. And now we're going to see Groudon get up rocks. So a lot of hazards coming in. Giratina Oak comes in before rocks, so it gets to be at full health. And goes with a big hitting Draco Meteor, as that Groudon is physically defensive. Giratina getting chipped, so now it's in range for Scarf Dialga to clean up if that is M-Dragon's strategy. And Blissey gets out. Ooh, I don't know about that. Well, I guess you want to preserve... Okay, well, no, if you're going to sacrifice Groudon after, see, that would have benefited from some foresight. Because if you're going to if your move is, I go to Blissey, oh, it has Outrage, so I sack Groudon anyway, then, you know, you may as well just... I mean, I guess if he was banking on the Giratina not having Outrage, but great heads-up move by Tomahawk to take advantage of that. Because now Groudon is KO'd and Blissey is essentially dead. And Tomahawk hasn't lost a Pokemon yet. Now, he's probably going to with Palkia coming in with all these hazards. But he's he's certainly in position to... And I mean, if this is a Scarfed Palkia and it locks into Spatial Rend, he's not even guaranteed to take out this Magnezone. And, okay, so Tomahawk still hasn't lost a Pokemon. So he's in very good position to do something, to, break through this team. So Specs, it's unlikely that Giratina was sub because it took so little from Specs T-Bolt. And thus, yeah. Okay, so Dragon, I don't know why. I think he could have Wisped there. I guess he didn't want to Wisp and then rest and just wanted to rest immediately as he assumed Toma would just keep spamming Will-O-Wisp. But Toma makes a great move and gets, crit Dragon Pulse doing 90 to Giratina. So that is... supremely specially defensive if the T-Bolt damage wasn't a giveaway already. But yeah, so Tomahawk still hasn't lost a Pokemon. He's KO'd 3, and now Blissey is going to heal up here because it is a Sport Dialga and it's not going to KO from 24, but he's just going to roar and rack up more damage, and it is in his it's his game to clean up at this point. So reveals Kyogre, reveals lefties, so definitely a Scarf Palkia. And nice move by Toma, doubling to Blissey there, doubling to Giratina on the Blissey switch, because knowing Kyogre does not want to stand and get thundered. So now another free Outrage for Giratina, and it's going to not quite take the Blissey out. Okay, well, Blissey might actually stall this out. But I was going to say, if it KOs the Blissey and gets revenge by Palkia, then the Blissey is gone, and the game really should be over. But now it's probably going to get stalled out in this 1v1, so Toma's going to have to go to something more reliable to take it out. I mean, if the Magnezone has Explosion, then it does claim a KO here. And M-Dragon tries to absorb that. Ooh, no, nice. He fakes the Explosion, goes for Thunder, and takes out the Kyogre. Great move. That was really nicely done by Tomahawk. I don't think a lot of players would have the discipline to do that. Myself very much included. I think, oh, Explosion's free. Just chunk the Kyogre even if it switches in. But he got the free Kyogre KO there and forced the Palkia to KO him, therefore giving him the switch advantage here. So now M-Dragon is forced to sacrifice as opposed to potentially avoiding on a double down. So here comes the Garchomp. That is pretty much telegraphed by the Magnezone. And in the perfect spot to clean up. And it is going to be Scarf. It's going to take Palkia out. And now... I mean, Blissey could stall all these things out, theoretically. It stalled out the... I mean, it probably doesn't have enough soft boils. Actually, no, since the Garchomp is poison, then... But it is taking a lot of damage. So it's unlikely that the Blissey stalls everything out, though I guess theoretically it is possible, with a lot of 2-turn outrages and, you know, outrage confusion luck and whatnot. So Toma's just going to go to Kyogre, the least useful, before he goes to anything else. I mean, if these last 5 Pokemon can't KO the Blissey. Okay, he T-Waves it. Nice move. Oh, and it has a Wish and Soft Boil. That's not a set you see often in DPP Ubers, but it is quite good. So the Kyogre's just getting sacked pretty much. So it means that Toma's going to actually have to break through it, as opposed to just, you know, eventually... As opposed to just outlasting its soft-boiled PP. So, I mean, if he gets, like, lucky with crits and paras with this Kyogre here, it could be over. Up, is it gonna... Well, I mean, this depends on the roll, because he gets those 3 paras in a row. And... No, the soft boil goes off. So, if anything, that was helpful for M-Dragon, because it let him conserve his soft boiled PP. He's got to... Okay, that was big. If he crit or parried there, then he might have struggled against... Especially parried against the ensuing outrage. So, back to Chomp. Soft boil. I mean, now it's a crit or a para away from being game over. And he's at 3. So there's the para. Is Garchomp going to confuse? No, it's not. And that is game 1. Tomahawk lead. T-Tar. Ray. We know this dynamic. Mewtwo comes in. I always appreciated when Mewtwo's defensive capabilities are used to keep crazy things in check. And Calm Mind's right away as Ray goes for EQ, which suggests DD. So Calm Mind and running away from Heatran. In comes Groudon, not the... Well, it doesn't get Lava Plume burned by a sun-boosted Lava Plume, so that's fine. Now it's Toxic, and Toma goes to his own Groudon, so rocks are going to be exchanged. If the Skarmory gets Lava Plumed, then it does get Lava Plumed. Again, I really think it should be a standard, or maybe not the standard, but, you know, because if you have a Magnezone, or even if you don't have a Magnezone, it really depends on the team, but Lava Plume is just so good. I mean, look, it smacks Skarmory, now it burns a Latios switch, and I mean, even if you do 1 damage to Kyogre, you can still burn it. And the coverage is just, you know, wonderful. So here comes Heatran to wall Latios in Sun, and now it gets to, you know, get a complete... be a complete pain to switch into. Heatran in Sun for a Sun team to switch into is just nightmarish. Now, I don't know what that is. I think you can just Lava... I guess he was afraid of losing to it one-on-one? Oh, well... I don't know what was happening there. I think Toma was like... Okay, I think Toma was expecting some sort of switch? Or like Surf or... something that Rayquaza could pivot in on and then threaten out with an EQ. And then he was like, oh, well, that didn't work, so now I'm going to go back to Heatran to take hits from the Latios. And M-Dragon was afraid of, like, CB E-Speed or Scarf Outrage or something unusual. I don't know, because he went to Skarmory there. But that definitely, because Toma has a big advantage with how well Heatran matches up against so many Pokemon. So now M-Dragon has to do what he really doesn't want to and switch T-Tar into a Lava Plume. Pray he doesn't get burned. And he doesn't, but Heatran's going to get some health back with Protect. So there goes Low Kick. That does not necessarily say anything. Oh, and it gets Pursued. So nice move by M-Dragon there. That's a great example of the not very effective Pursuit. Not, you know, doing a ton of damage, but with the hazards and with, you know, the need to weaken this thing at any cost, and that was really big. So double to Dialga, not Heatran, to threaten the... Oh no, he thought Latios was coming in because Latios will wall the burned Groudon if it doesn't have Dragon Claw. So he just goes for a Draco Meteor and that must be boosted because it just smashed that Skarmory, which was clearly very specially defensive from how little it took from the sun boosted Lava Plume. It just smashed that Skarmory right through the resist. So here comes Mewtwo, Calm Minding again. I don't know why Heatran didn't come in now if Mewtwo ran from it earlier. Well, he T-Waves the Mewtwo, so that's definitely helpful. And so, I mean, this Groudon putting a ton of work with T-Wave and Lava Plume. Everything's getting status. And now it gets weakened, and now Ray or Dialga can finish it off. So Ray comes in, and Skarm is down, and it goes for Draco. So it's not a physical set. It's just a mix set with EQ over Brick Break. That's not something you always see, but that's fine. In fact, it might be better because it hits Jirachi even after you -2 from Draco. So that's as opposed to the Brick Break variant, which relies on Fire Blast otherwise. So Dialga comes in. It is not going to be boosted. It was just might be modest then from how confidently Draco Meteored that Skarm. Because I think Timid, that would be too risky to do that. Double to Dialga here as Lugia comes in against the Groudon. And not a lefty's bulk upset, so not likely that anything scary is going to happen. Lugia Calm Minds, as he can in the face of most Dialgas, and Earth Power's not going to do anything to T-Tar. And, well, it's going to bring the T-Tar into Stealth Rock range. We're just under Stealth Rock range with that lower roll. But it's also, I mean, this T-Tar could Custap, theoretically, but it's unlikely. But now he's just trying to win with the Scarf Dialga. Scarf Dialga, Heatran, well, Heatran is less useful now against this Dialga that ostensibly has Brick Break or something and the Heatran. But he's got that, it is Scarf Dialga, so now Heatran comes in and beats it. Well, maybe, it is at low health, so that Pursuit paying dividends now. There's the Lava Plume, gets a crit, not a burn. And now Groudon's going to come in trying to catch the Protect. We don't know what the last is. And he goes right for the Lava Plume because it was out of range. So smart to not play it too safe with Protect. And now Groudon takes a hefty chunk from that Sunny Lava Plume. And it all depends on the last. Can the last handle a 9%? Okay, yeah, it should be able to. Great move from Toma. Because Latios will die to Draco Meteor, but not Dragon Pulse. And if Dialga Draco Meteors, that it can't beat Heatran. So really nicely done from Toma there, and he's going to play it safe with HP Fire. And yeah, that is the game. Wait. Unless this crits, I guess. I don't know, wait. Wait, no, wait, what am I talking about? Okay, I just had a total meltdown because I forgot hazards are on the field. So it's out of... Why did he switch out then? He just got more rocks damage on Latios. I mean... Yeah, because if it... Okay, I think the logic overall is better still if you stay in. Because if it Dracos, at least you can protect with Heatran to 12%. And then then you double protect or Draco can miss. So you can still beat it once it's at -2. And if it Dragon Pulses, then... If it Dragon Pulses and it KOs both your things, then, nothing you can do about that either way. But staying in with Latios was definitely the better move there. I mean, a great move to switch Latios in, it was just kind of undone by that switch out. So even though I forgot that Heatran was going to be brought so low by the hazards. Again, big pursuit from T-Tar earlier. And then the logic was sound. So now we go to a game 3. Darkrai, Kyogre, Dark Void misses. We don't know if Lum, Surf, Dark Void. It is a Lum. So had to hit 2 Voids there, and well, we don't know if it was Sash or not to get hit by because it also could have been crit. Yeah, but yeah, Dio Speed coming in makes me think it was a Scarf Darkrai because when you run mid game Dio Speed, then a lot of time you run Scarf Darkrai to get that guaranteed first sleep off, and therefore get an advantage with your own Dio Speed. Water Spout, there's the mid game Sash, and makes the Scarfrai even likelier. So M-Dragon is down 6-4 and has done 0 damage because of the unluckiness of Dark Void. But he has gotten Rocks and Spikes, and now Latios is here to mount the comeback attempt, and with Thunder... Oh, well, with Grass Knot, then you're not hitting Bronzong as hard. I think Grass Knot is a remnant of a different metagame. I think Thunder is generally the superior move, because now you're just getting stifled by Bronzong. And what could have been really difficult, because Thunder is going to 3 KO Bronzong, almost surely. I mean, maybe not with Protect, but then it's running Protect, and you can take advantage of that. You can switch out of Protect, I mean. But here, it's just walled completely, because with Rocks and Spikes, then Latios is like one of the best Pokemon to mount a comeback with Thunder, because nothing switches into it, even Jirachi and Bronzong. But with GK HP Fire, then, yeah, Zong basically nulls it. Even with that big Grass Knot crit on the first turn. So Dialga comes in to avoid the Toxic, and Groudon pivots in. Nice move. Now scaring it out with a Sunny Fire Punch. Kyogre comes in. What's M-Dragon gonna... He's gonna go right for that Fire Punch and gets a burn. So, a little bit coming back. Now, Latios is healthy, but Toma's got a free Ice Beam here. Or a nice move on the T-Wave. And that... I mean, it's not sealed yet, for sure. But it is look... Well, now Bronzong can't actually hurt it. And another Grass Knot crit. This is a messy game. I mean, Bronzong can't actually hurt it with a... Okay, so at least he took the Latios out. So next time Kyogre has the 1v1 against... Next time Kyogre has the 1v1 against Groudon, then it's going to T-Wave the Dialga switching in. So, still progress. Yeah, I suppose you don't want to... Guaranteeing you take the Latios out there is better than like switching into it repeatedly and potentially getting pivoted around and having to switch around more. It basically cuts down the amount of switching you have to do against M-Dragon's team, which is good because he has the rocks and spikes and you only have the rocks. So, Dialga comes in, Latios comes in. There's a Protect from M-Dragon and Draco Meteor, so that's going to be some bulky fun. And there's a Draco not doing much to a Spadef Jirachi. So, Toma could be in some trouble here if the Jirachi just sits on the entire team. Here comes a Palkia. That's risky to switch it right into status like that. There's a big Surf. Imagine if Kyogre had come in first, because now the Palkia can get Paraflinched. Oh, he's not going to risk it. He's just going to U-turn into Dialga, which is going to take a Spatial Rend for big, nice move on Toma's part. That was a really heads-up move. I don't think a lot of players would have made that move, myself very much included. So that was really big. That's a game changer. And he doesn't protect or go to Jirachi and just lets Dialga go down. I guess he's trying to set up with... Okay, that might be worth it if you can set up with Groudon. Say, oh, no, that sucks. That sucks a lot. Oh, we don't know the lasts. I mean, we're probably going to see one because Kyogre is going to lose to Jirachi here. But maybe not more than one. So the Jirachi is actually faster than Kyogre. Interesting. And, okay, Darkrai being the last. Well, we don't know what the last is in terms of its ability to take on Groudon. That was really big. And oh, okay, so there's Kingdra. So that might have been able to take things on nicely, since Rain was still an option. Yeah, so this is a messy game for sure. A lot of stuff going on. And Tomahawk takes the series 2-1. All right, 6A9 Ace Matador versus 64 Squares, second to last series. DOA versus Tar. DOA goes for the spikes, Tar goes for the attack. So 6-5, but with spikes. What's the follow-up? And potentially an intact sash for Groudon. Here comes Groudon into Heatran on the rocks. And it gets EQ'd into dust, so that... I'm not so sure about that one. Now, Groudon avoiding Fire Blast... Well, EQ on T-Tar is a nice heads-up move in general for... Not necessarily for Heatran, but for hitting Dialga... Well, actually, Low Kick and Superpower hit it harder. But I think Earthquake has better coverage because you don't let Jirachi pivot into it. And Jirachi is a really common pivot into Tar. So, and of course, you know, making sure that Heatran can't set up rocks on you is really big, as we saw there. Because 64 was... I assume if Groudon doesn't set up rocks there, then Heatran is the rocker. And he was trying to just, look, I'll take a Low Kick or a Superpower and get up rocks and then switch back. But Skarm comes in as... Groudon EQs, and there's SD, Stone Edge, no Fire Punch, and Shiftry comes in. So in comes Kyogre to replace the Weather and dodge a Fire move. Now that nice heads-up Low Kick there, aiming for the T-Tar. But now that the Weather is replaced, then Skarmory walls it completely, not afraid of Weather Ball or something. And Latios gets Whirlwinded into Giratina. Nice. That's another nice heads-up move by AM to not let any momentum get taken back. Just make more damage happen, make more, reveal more information. So doubly great move, as opposed to being too precious about Skarm's health. And so not switching around, just... Oh, of course the Giratina's not going to have Thunder. It's a Sun team, so nice read there. Just Whirlwinding again, gets burned. Okay. But Groudon's going to get a little bit chunked, so the Weather War is more easily won. And now he knows he can roost. So even though the Skarm's burn, now he can set up spikes or just keep whirlwinding. And he whirlwinds on the SD as opposed to getting the second layer and then taking a +2 Stone Edge. So that was a very nice move. That was really nicely read by AM. And Tina O comes back in. Draco is not going to be doing much, so I assume he's going to roost, and he does. Skipped ahead a little by accident. So now the second layer goes off as Latios comes in, taking more rocks damage, and T-Tar still at full health. So Dragon Pulse, and Grassknot takes it out. So that is Grassknot's greatest feature. I just don't like Grassknot without Thunder. Because then, well, on rain teams at least. Because then Bronzeknot can just be, at least on a team that can combat it with what's it called? With Sun, then it's different. But on rain teams, yeah. Well, and even then, I think you face Kyogre so much, and you face Steels and Rain so much, because you can't always win the Weather War, and I think Latios can fit Thunder, Grassknot, and HP Fire on the same set. Plus, it's also, well, I guess it's not a great move to... No, never mind. I'm not going to start going in talking circles. So, Kyogre gets sacked, so Sun is going to be intact now, because both T-Tar got KO'd, and Kyogre's Scarf Ice Beam... Well, it put Latios in Rocks range, which is why I get sacked here. But Sun doesn't necessarily mean... As long as Giratina doesn't get sacked, and I guess never mind, because it does get sacked. So now the Groudon is potentially threatening, but it depends on what his lasts are, because he does have 2 lasts. And I assume he's going to get that easy third layer here, and now just start whirlwinding everything. Yep, so I was going to say 64 is going to start looking for a Draco crit, and he gets one there. And now Kabutops comes in. So we've got some weather-abusing action. It's almost like a UU game. How cool. So now Groudon comes in, replaces the Rain with Sun, and Latios comes in. There's the Kyogre check, and Draco, and now Shiftry. And now this is fun. So AM is going to go to Kabutops on the Shiftry, avoiding Sucker Punch, because the Shiftry is actually kind of threatening with Sucker and SD, because with the Skarm getting crit and the Sun now being permanent. So Kabutops comes in. Now we don't know what that last move is. He suckers again on... Is he going to Aqua Jet? He does have Aqua Jet. And that's rare just because Aqua Jet is a rare move on Kabutops in general. So... I mean, I guess if you have a CB Kabutops, then it's easier to fit. Or if you're dropping Spin, which I guess you commonly can drop Spin. It's not like this team really needs it. So you can run Stone Edge, Waterfall, Aqua Jet, Superpower, or Low Kick. So he makes a great move in going to Kabutops to avoid that Sucker. And now he Aqua Jets to just force Life Orb damage. Yeah, so at the very least, I think you would tie there. Yeah, because if you go back to Latios... Yeah, because he's out of range of Sucker Punch after one more Spike Switch. So if you go to Latios on the low kick... Yeah, if you go to Latios on the low kick, then I think you manage to guarantee the win? Unless he SDs, of course. Yeah, Latios on low kick, and then it's at 7... Or, sorry. Latios on low kick, and then it's at 19. Or 20, whatever. And, because it went from 29 to 20, right? I'm not crazy. And then... you Sucker Punch it, and it goes down to 10. And how much did Aqua Jet do? No, it only did... it did 13 in Sun. Yeah, so then you would guarantee the win if you go to Latios on low kick. But if 64 goes to... if 64 goes for Sucker Punch on the Latios switch, then it fails and he doesn't take any Life Orb damage. So then AM has... either, some dumb games to play with, like, using Recover on Sucker Punch a bunch of times, which is I mean, theoretically, I guess it could work. If that's, like, your worst case. But you don't want it, like, SDing a bunch of times, and yeah, that's a pretty decent worst case. Because even if he suckers on the Latias switch, then you go back to Kabutops and try it again. So it's a whole messy endgame that I'm probably not... I think I covered the basics, but yeah, so AM brings that one back. So AM leads 1-0. Roserade lead against a Tentacruel lead. What is this? OU? Well, no, because OU would never have a Tentacruel lead. But Roserade lead is unusual. Gets a sleep off on Tentacruel, and now a Jirachi switch, and he goes right for a Leaf Storm. Not even... Well, of course he's not going to set up T-Spikes because there's a Tentacruel right there. And Sleep Powder and Spikes is illegal in Gen 4, famously so. Now, this OU gathering is broken up by the Ho-Oh that comes in on the Jirachi. And the Jirachi looks to be Scarf with its big damage from Leaf Storm and lack of leftovers. Nice double switch to Roserade there on the Kyogre coming in and absorbs his T-Spikes. And he's going to launch another big Leaf Storm. He does, and he hits Mewtwo quite hard. And it is going to have leftovers, probably going to so it's going to recover it up, but it is going to give Kyogre of AMs a free switch. So we got Roserade, Ho-Oh, Kyogre. Definitely the most colorful team we've seen this round. I think I'm going to, make it, yeah. Because Ho-Oh double weather with Roserade, I mean, that's even more far out than using Weavile. So Groudon comes in, not quite super specially defensive, but, decently switches in enough against the Kyogre, the paralyzed Kyogre, gets up rocks. So now AM has the hazard advantage, and now he pivots into Roserade on the Sunny Surf, so very nicely done. As I assume 64 was looking to hit Ho-Oh as hard as possible with that Surf. And now Rose comes in, has another Leaf Storm to launch, because it's just a Leaf Storm launching machine. And it does nothing to the Dialga this time around, with the Quad Resist and Bulk and, lefties. So now Ho-Oh comes in before rocks go up, and it does have lefties, but it's slower. Oh, he subbed. Why? It's going to roar. So that was unfortunate. And Draco Meteor is also an unfortunate miss there. And a second Draco Meteor, which is also an unfortunate miss. Now, I don't know why that Ho-Oh didn't just spam Sacred Fire, because it's something... I guess you don't want to Sacred Fire into Kyogre, but Kyogre also doesn't want to switch it. It's parried, because if it subs and gets hit by Brave Bird, then you're just toast. I mean, because... Also, if you're going to go to Kyogre and set up the rain and then go back to Dialga, so you hit the Kyogre, or hit the... so you take resisted damage from Sacred Fire, I think it's better you just spam as much damage on the Kyogre coming in as possible. And, yeah, as opposed to just subbing and potentially... Because then even if you sub and get some lefties back as Kyogre and then Dialga comes back, you're still losing health with rocks up. So I think it was better to just attack and preserve Ho-Oh's health since rocks are up now, as opposed to subbing in a scenario where you can't recover and do damage at the same time. Or you can't recover and do damage with as much ease because of the extra pressure that's placed on you because of rocks. So now Groudon comes in against Dialga and launches EQ, and Mewtwo is being used as the utility counter for it. Is it gonna Wisp here? No, he's just gonna recover again. And Thunder. Surf. But this is a great example of how utility Mewtwo can be really irritating. Unless it gets T-Waved here. Nope, it gets roared. In comes 64's Kyogre. So I think more aggressive Ho-Oh would have been real dangerous. Yeah, I mean, even if he spammed Sacred Fire against Jirachi, I mean, the double switch to Rose was not... Well, no, that was important because he got rid of the T-Spikes, suppose. So, yeah, never mind. But I think after that, maybe you can just start launching the Sacred Fires. Because Ho-Oh's at its best when it's spreading as much damage as possible. So, Rose is sacked, and now the Dialga is just going to clean up, living the superpower. So, colorful team, and there's the Kabutops trying to spin for it, I suppose, but I think it was trying to get too much done. So, there is the Sacred Fire in Rain, and yeah, but that's going to be the game, as it gets tricked. So, we move on to Game 3. DOA, Tentacruel. Is it going to have Psycho Boost? No, it's going to switch to Darkrai, which is going to start nasty plotting. It's not even going to bother Dark Voiding or attacking, and it gets crit by Hydro Pump right away. That is supremely not good. Hydro misses, rocks go up, but that's not really helpful as Now some strange switching going around as Dialga takes an EQ, then switches to Kyogre, and Protect on oh wow, that's rough. Protect on Explosion there. An unusual Protect because that doesn't really do much if Latios comes in, as you would expect. So I also don't know why the Explosion was used there other than to try and get lucky, but... Oh, sorry, I skipped a turn by accident. So Bronzong, Dialga got Rocks, and then Bronzong... Sorry, I've been doing this for over an hour and a half. Dialga got Rocks and took another EQ, and then Kyogre came in, and that whole thing happened. So at the very least, AM gets a Calm Mind, so he's going to start KOing stuff now as Tentacruel gets dropped, but a Scarf Chomp with Dragon Claw is common on these teams, or a Scarf Jirachi. Oh, U-turn, so that's not exactly threatening a KO, so he's going to get another KO back, so at least he's going to make it 4-4. And Surf, and that's not a common move on Latios, and suggests a Kyogre somewhere in the back here. But now it's 4-3, Square's lead. There's the Kyogre. 64's answer is his own Kyogre, though, which is not super reliable, but he's just going to go for a Surf, which even with a crit doesn't do very much, and a Mewtwo last, so it looks like 64 Squares is going to run away with this game. And Kyogre's not going to be able to finish off against Mewtwo, which is a Scarf Mewtwo, as it outruns DOA. So that was a wild series, for sure. And now we're on to the last one of round 1. Fire on the Well against Jirachi. Jirachi, nice, against, with a Lumberry against Darkrai to get a T-Wave off. Very nice. You don't see that often. Gets a T-Wave, sorry, skipping ahead by accident. And Dark Void does not hit a second time with Paralysis Rate, so it gets Rocks up. And now with Iron Flinch and Dark Void accuracy, then that's a very nice set. Because even if it doesn't work out, even if the second Dark Void does hit, then you parried the Darkrai and got Rocks up. So U-turns out of Groudon, and comes Kyogre on Groudon's Rocks. Here comes Latios, gets Water Spouted for max damage. That's Specs, because that hits really hard. And now in comes Jirachi to pivot against it and get another U-turn and bring the Kyogre back in against the Groudon. So here comes Kyogre. The Groudon shows Ice Beam. Or sorry, the Groudon shows Protect, revealing Ice Beam. And now Jirachi makes a nice double to Dialga on whatever wants to come in and resist that Ice Beam. So Rain Fori, not going to fear KO by Fire move, so it gets the spin off. Gets parried by a hard-hitting Thunder, though. And the Dialga shows lefties on an offensive set, and it also has Rocks. Very nice setup. And Draco Meteor's Groudon. Wow, so takes an EQ, Draco Meteor's Groudon, and Weather War, I mean, not one necessarily, but the double rock setup is really nice, and I really like it in OU, but it's very nice in Ubers where sometimes no matter how well your lead matchups are prepared, you're just not going to get rocks out of it. Or you have to make a bad decision between KOing the opposing Pokemon and getting up your rocks. And those are awful to make, but they're a lot easier to make when you can KO the opposing Pokemon knowing that you've got rocks somewhere else. That's the idea in OU, and it's way more applicable to Ubers where the lead metagame is so much more powerful. So really nicely done there. I think that turn could have been a switch to Kyogre because it's either going to be Protect from Groudon or a switch to Fori to try and spin against the -2 Dialga in Sun. So Thunder isn't even going to be hitting. So I think Kyogre would have been fine there. Or even here, as now Fori comes in -2, and I mean now Kyogre comes in, but I think would have been much more pressure because now Rapid Spin and Water Spout's a little weaker, and the Fori is Protect too, so you can't even Ice Beam. And now it's going to start getting messy as Dialga comes in and gets up rocks, but Fori is now stacking multiple layers of spikes, and that could have been easily avoided. We do see Draco Meteor Dragon Pulse Dialga, though, a great set. As Mewtwo comes in, Draco, and I mean, this is why Utility Mewtwo is good. We've really seen this a lot. And now Darkrai comes in on another recover. Dialga comes in to absorb the Spore, the Spore, can you imagine? No, it's the bat. So it looks like a Sleep Talk Scarf as the cleanup Pokemon late game. So cool setup, lead Sleep, and then you got your Sun Semi-Salt Core, and then Dialga for cleanup. So now Jirachi comes in, avoids the Sleep Talk Draco Meteor, and Kyogre comes in. So a lot of threat in this game. Just a little, running a little low on steam, running a little too straightforward in the play. And now just surfing into into a healing. Yeah, now looks like Calm Mind Latias is just going to run away with the game, as it shrugs off even the Life Orb Dark Pulse after the boost because of Soul Dew. And now it even hangs on against Latios Draco Meteor. That is how strong, that is how bulky Soul Dew Latias is after just a Calm Mind. So it takes a lot of Pokemon to get there. But Rayquaza is going to finish it off. So now Sleep Talk, Dragon Pulse with Draco Meteor and Dragon Pulse, you have a likely chance of getting a good pull. But it looks like Mewtwo is probably winning this game. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know about that. I think Mewtwo should have come in there and Ice Beamed, because you need Dialga healthy to handle the Kyogre. I mean, I guess, because other than that, because if you lose Dialga, you might actually, I guess it depends on what the Mewtwo set is. No, okay, if it's an Ice Beam Mewtwo, then I guess it doesn't really matter, but I still think it's less risky than potentially having a bad Sleep Talk roll. Oh, it's Light Screen Taunt Wisp. And it gets a Sun Para, but yeah, Light Screen Mewtwo is pretty awesome, but it's unlikely that Light Screen goes up, but the Dialga is going to win anyway, and the Wisp lands. Okay, so now we go on to Game 2. Tentacruel, Dio Speed, Taunt on T-Spikes, and T-Tar switches in, and Kyogre doubles in. That's on you. Oh no, that's a good move. Expecting the Pokemon coming into a helpless Tentacruel, rather than just Hydro Pumping into it or Rapid Spinning into it haplessly, then reading that Byron's going to make that switch and going to Kyogre. So, great move, very heads up. In comes Palkia on... Sorry, I did not mean to skip that much. Palkia comes in, eats another Specs Water Spout. Good lord, 2 KO'd by that quadruple resisted move. And launches its own rain-boosted Hydro move in return and smacks the Jirachi really hard. Now, Tentacruel is going to come in. Oh, looks like it's Lustrous Orb as Aqua Tail and wins the speed tie against Tentacruel, which fails to get up T-Spikes. Now, in comes Kingdra, so we've got some serious rain assault in this game as Dio Speed gets dropped down to the Sash. And Byron's obviously got the Sand to... Well, Dio Speed gets up no hazard, so that's something. Neither of the players' hazard leads got up any hazards. And now Kingdra outrages and gets Crunch Crit in return. We don't know if that's... CB outside the lead slot is not rare, but it's certainly rarer. But it goes down. It also got crit. Well, they both crit each other. So let's call it even. And no, actually, it absolutely is even. I suppose with outrage turns and whatever, but could have been pursued. Who knows? So Water Spout takes it out because Palkia can't switch in, and now Dialga switches in. And if it's Scarfed, see, this is why the essence of DPP Ubers, hanging by a thread. You take one hit like that, and that that's huge. That's game changing. Because it's not going to take another, but just that one extra turn can be so big. Jirachi comes in. Jirachi's really been holding this tier together. It's a Scarf set, so it takes a lot from Draco Meteor, and U turns out, and Kyogre is going to be the next Pokemon to switch in to Draco Meteor now at -2. And Tina O is not an ideal... Well, it comes in a T-Wave, so it could have been worse. Could have been an attack. Takes a big Ice Beam, and Thunders in return, so that's as strong as it could have been. Doesn't do too much. And Paras on the Shadow Sneak. That could be crucial for Dialga's cleanup attempts. Goes to Kyogre. Doesn't... Wow. Okay, that was big damage. Doesn't even go for Thunder. Just Water Spouts. Now, read the T... Look, it's like, if that Kyogre's T-Wave, it's slow, I'm going to be faster, I'm Water Spouting. Great move. Not letting something come in for free on a Thunder that... would be able to take Thunder, but would not be able to take Water Spout. And as you see there, that is enormous damage. So, yikes. Sneak, and it's going to get taken out by the second Spout. So now it's a matter of, can Palkia be withstood? Well, no, it's sack Jirachi here, clearly. And then go to Dialga and Draco. And I guess it's a matter of... Oh, Spatial... Well, no, because it's going to KO with Aqua Tail now. Could have gone to Dialga. No, it would have. I think it would have died to Lustrous Aqua Tail in Rain at 25. No, it absolutely would have. So now it's Draco, and well, it's down to if Jirachi can do Jirachi things, really. But now I think, do you go to Kyogre? I think you would have gone to Kyogre there because you're gonna have to repeat this process later. Because now it's a guaranteed win for Byron. Yeah, because you go to now you just go to you sack Kyogre. Okay, nice move, but no, actually great move. Not guaranteed yet. Great double because now Dialga KOs Kyogre. Now Jirachi Iron Head